The mother wolf couldn't save her cub. But look who came to the rescue. Before we begin, please subscribe to our channel. Your support means everything to us and is the only way to share the stories of these incredible animals, who often go unheard. It helps us continue our work, so please subscribe now. In the heart of the wilderness, a mother wolf's desperate howls echoed through the trees. Her eyes, filled with pain, locked onto her cub, trapped and struggling on the riverbank. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows as fear and urgency danced in the air. This was a moment where nature's fury met unwavering instinct, and lives hung in the balance. Lucas, a young environmental researcher, stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest. He had devoted his life to studying these majestic creatures but had never encountered such raw desperation. The forest was alive with the sounds of rustling leaves, the chilling cries of the mother wolf pulling him closer to the scene, igniting a fierce urgency within him. Should he intervene, risking his safety? Or should he remain a bystander, watching as a life teetered on the edge of fate? As he took a step forward, the chaotic rush of the river roared in his ears. The mother wolf's terrified gaze urged him onward, igniting a spark of courage deep within. This was a moment where he had to choose, between fear and compassion, between safety and the instinct to save. Every instinct told him to turn back, yet the desperation in her eyes was a call he couldn't ignore. The air was thick with tension, a symphony of nature's chaos playing out against the backdrop of the forest. Lucas crouched low, heart racing, as the mother wolf's cries echoed like a haunting melody. He could feel the weight of her despair pressing down on him, each howl laced with a primal fear that sent shivers down his spine. The urgency of the situation made the world around him blur, yet he could not ignore the piercing gaze of the wolf, a gaze that seemed to pierce through his very soul. "Why won't anyone help her?" he whispered to himself, his breath catching in his throat. As he peered through the underbrush, he could see the cub, its small body trembling as it struggled against the current. The river surged, merciless and powerful, a barrier between the desperate mother and her offspring. In the distance, shopkeepers from a nearby village had begun to gather, their faces painted with concern, yet they kept their distance. A group of children, wide-eyed with fear and curiosity, whispered among themselves. "What's wrong with the wolf?" one asked, barely able to suppress a gasp. Another, clutching a small stick, chimed in, "Maybe it's waiting for something, or someone." The adults exchanged worried glances, some shaking their heads, dismissing the scene as just another spectacle of nature. But the children, their imaginations wild and untamed, speculated wildly. "Maybe it's looking for its lost family," one suggested, glancing at Lucas, who was now fully captivated by the unfolding drama. As Lucas watched, a figure emerged from the shadows of the trees, an older man, rugged and weathered, who was known in the village as a hunter. His presence added a new layer of tension, and the whispers quieted. "I've seen this before," he said, voice low and gravelly. "Wolves are fierce protectors. But they can turn on you in an instant, especially when their young are threatened." Lucas felt the weight of the hunter's words. He knew the danger that lay in the balance, yet the raw emotion spilling from the mother wolf was undeniable. "I can't just stand here," he muttered, stepping further into the clearing, despite the hunter's warning gaze. "She needs help. Stay back." "Boy," the hunter barked, his weathered hand gripping the rifle slung over his shoulder. "You don't know what you're messing with. That wolf will protect her cub at all costs." But Lucas couldn't turn away. The mother wolf's eyes glistened with a desperate intelligence, and he felt an unspoken bond forming between them. "I can't let her suffer," he whispered, as if trying to convince himself more than anyone else. His heart thundered as he approached the riverbank, the roar of the water drowning out all other sounds. The cub was inching closer to the edge, its tiny paws slipping on the slick stones. Lucas reached into his bag, pulling out a length of rope he always carried for emergencies. He fashioned a makeshift lasso, his hands trembling with adrenaline. "Come on, little one," he coaxed, his voice soothing. The cub paused, looking up at him, its innocent eyes filled with trust and fear. Lucas felt a wave of determination wash over him. "I won't let you fall." As he prepared to throw the rope, the mother wolf let out a low, warning growl, her instincts kicking in as she sensed the danger of the rushing water. Lucas froze, realizing the challenge ahead was greater than he had anticipated. He could see the tension in her muscles, the fierce love pushing her to protect her cub while knowing she was powerless against the river's might. "Please trust me," Lucas murmured, his eyes locked onto the mother wolf's. In that moment he understood, this was more than just a rescue, it was a bridge between two worlds, a moment of trust that could redefine their existence. Do it. Save the cub, one of the children shouted, breaking the silence, and suddenly the crowd surged closer, their trepidation forgotten in the face of raw emotion. Lucas took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage he had. He threw the rope towards the cub, who instinctively reached for it, clinging to the lifeline. The mother wolf watched, her growl shifting to a low whimper, torn between instinct and hope. As the cub grasped the rope with its tiny teeth, Lucas pulled gently, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on him. The river surged, a dangerous beast, but he refused to yield. Come on. You can do it, he encouraged, his voice echoing against the roar of the water, a beacon of hope in the chaos. Just then, the sounds of footsteps shattered the moment, poachers emerging from the thicket, their presence a dark cloud looming over the scene. Lucas's heart sank. Danger had arrived, and it was not just the river that threatened them now. Get away from that wolf, one of the poachers shouted, brandishing a weapon. Fear gripped Lucas, but he couldn't back down. The mother wolf, now free from her snare, seemed to sense the danger, her instincts flaring. She stepped protectively in front of Lucas and her cub, a fierce guardian ready to defend what was hers. Lucas felt a rush of admiration. She's not just a wolf, she's a mother, he thought, his resolve hardening. As the poachers advanced, the mother wolf bared her teeth, a low growl rumbling from her chest. Lucas stood tall beside her, the bond forged in that moment unbreakable. Leave us, he shouted, adrenaline surging through him. The poachers hesitated, caught off guard by the fierce loyalty of the wolf and the unexpected bravery of the human. With a sudden flurry of movement, the wolves and the humans stood united against the threat. The poachers, sensing the defiance in the air, took a step back, fear etched on their faces. Let's get out of here, one of them said, and in an instant they retreated into the shadows from whence they came. The tension hung heavy in the air, but Lucas felt a spark of triumph. He turned to the mother wolf, their eyes meeting in an understanding that transcended species. We did it, he whispered, breathless with emotion. As he helped the cub to safety, the mother wolf nudged her child closer, gratitude shining in her eyes. If this story is touching your heart, make sure to comment from where you are hearing this amazing story. And in that moment, as they stood together, Lucas knew he had found not just a protector but an ally in the wild. A bond that would forever change their lives. As the dust settled from the sudden confrontation with the poachers, Lucas felt an unexpected wave of relief wash over him. The mother wolf stood steadfast, her fierce gaze scanning the forest for any sign of danger. Lucas, still trembling from the adrenaline of the moment, took a deep breath and steadied himself. He had saved the cub, and in doing so, forged a connection with the mother wolf that felt both profound and unbreakable. But just as the tension began to ease, an unexpected sound emerged from the thicket nearby, a rustling that was too deliberate to be mere wind through the leaves. Lucas's heart raced as he turned to the source. Emerging from the shadows was a figure he never expected to see, an older woman, her face lined with the wisdom of the forest, eyes glimmering with a knowing light. Lucas, she called, her voice calm yet authoritative. You shouldn't be here. He recognized her instantly. She was known in the village as the protector of the woods, a woman who had devoted her life to the preservation of wildlife and the delicate balance of the ecosystem. Her presence was both comforting and alarming. I had to help, he replied, his voice shaky but resolute. The mother and her cub were in danger. She stepped closer, her gaze shifting to the mother wolf, who had now relaxed slightly, though her body remained tense, ready to defend her young. You risked a great deal, young man, the woman said, her brow furrowing as she assessed the scene. But you must understand that your intervention is not without consequence. What do you mean? Lucas asked, confusion knitting his brow. The woman knelt, her eyes meeting the wolf's with an intimacy that spoke volumes. Wolves are not mere beasts of the wild, they sense intention. Your actions today have stirred something deep within them, something that could either unite or divide our worlds. Lucas swallowed hard, realizing the weight of her words. I just wanted to save them, he murmured, guilt creeping into his heart. Saving them is not the only thing that matters, she replied, her voice steady yet gentle. You must earn their trust, but know this, the wolves of this land are guardians of the wild. They protect their own fiercely. And your presence here has challenged their understanding of humans. As she spoke, the mother wolf's ears perked up, and she turned her gaze toward the woman, a low growl rumbling deep in her throat. Lucas felt the tension rise again, a palpable fear that threatened to engulf them. What will she do? He whispered, glancing nervously between the two. The woman extended her hands slowly, palms up, a gesture of peace. She senses the change in her environment. If she perceives you as a threat, it could lead to dire consequences. You must show her that you mean no harm. Lucas took a deep breath, realizing the moment was crucial. I need to show her I'm on her side, he thought, steeling himself. But before he could react, the mother wolf stepped closer, her eyes narrowing as she assessed the woman. Then, to Lucas's shock, she turned and faced him, her body tense, as if weighing the trust she had just begun to build with him. In a split second, everything shifted. The mother wolf licked the cub's fur, then turned back to Lucas and lowered her head slightly, an invitation perhaps or a challenge. This was the moment of truth. Lucas knelt, mirroring her posture, and extended his hand toward her, palm open, a universal sign of peace. Please, I'm here to help, he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. I want to protect you both. The mother wolf studied him. Her piercing gaze filled with a mixture of wariness and curiosity. As seconds stretched into what felt like an eternity, Lucas could feel the weight of her judgment, the burden of their shared fate. Finally, she took a cautious step forward and Lucas's heart soared. But just as hope began to blossom in his chest, a low growl rumbled from the thicket behind the woman. The sound sent shivers down his spine. From the shadows emerged not just one but several wolves, their eyes glimmering with an unspoken challenge. The woman turned, her expression shifting to one of command. They are here to protect their territory. You must be careful, Lucas. Your actions have consequences, and the pack is not yet certain of your intentions. Lucas's mind raced as he faced the new pack of wolves, their collective gaze filled with suspicion. He felt the pressure of their presence, the weight of their history, and the realization that he was an intruder in their world. What do I do? He thought, panic rising. The mother wolf stood between him and the newcomers, her body language shifting to a protective stance as if to say, he's with me. Lucas could see the tension in her muscles, the fierce love that compelled her to defend her cub and now him. Show them your heart, the woman urged quietly, her eyes locked on the pack. They will sense your truth. You must be vulnerable, open to their judgment. With a deep breath, Lucas stepped forward, lowering himself onto one knee. He felt the weight of the wolves' eyes upon him, the silent question hanging in the air, do you belong here? I'm not your enemy, he said, voice steady yet soft. I'm here to protect what matters most, your family, your home. I promise I will help you, not harm you. Silence enveloped them, broken only by the soft rustle of leaves and the distant call of birds. The tension was thick, the air charged with anticipation. Then one of the younger wolves, bold and curious, stepped forward, sniffing the air around Lucas. The pack watched intently and Lucas held his breath, praying for acceptance. The young wolf circled him, its eyes filled with a mixture of curiosity and caution. As it approached, Lucas felt a sense of hope blooming within him. If he could win the trust of this young wolf, perhaps the entire pack would follow. He extended his hand slowly, palm up, inviting the wolf closer. Moments stretched into eternity as the young wolf hesitated, then leaned forward, sniffing his hand. Lucas's heart raced with excitement. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. However, the atmosphere shifted again when the mother wolf growled lowly, sensing the tension in the air. The newcomers were not yet convinced, their eyes narrowing as they observed the interaction. Trust is a fragile thing, the woman said, her voice breaking through the silence. But it can be forged through understanding. Just then the cub, emboldened by its mother's courage, waddled toward Lucas, its small form trembling with uncertainty but filled with the spirit of survival. The mother wolf watched closely, her gaze flickering between Lucas and her cub. Maybe this bond is stronger than we realize, Lucas thought, feeling a surge of determination. Maybe we can bridge the gap between our worlds. In that moment, the first step toward unity was taken, but the path ahead remained fraught with challenges. Lucas realized that the mother wolf's acceptance was just the beginning. He needed to prove himself not only to her but to the entire pack. The stakes had never been higher. The bond between humans and wolves hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of understanding. And as the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the forest, Lucas knew that the story was far from over. A new journey awaited, one that would test his resolve and redefine the very nature of his existence in the wild. With the pack watching, he took a step forward, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, driven by a newfound purpose to protect and preserve the delicate balance of life in the wilderness. The mother wolf and her cub stood by his side. A testament to the power of trust and the possibility of redemption in a world where kindness could prevail against the odds. After what felt like an eternity, the tension in the air began to shift. The mother wolf stood guard, her fierce gaze focused on the newcomers, the pack that had emerged from the thicket. Lucas felt the weight of their scrutiny, a collective judgment that weighed heavily on his heart. He had saved the cub. But now he had to prove himself worthy of standing with them. The older woman, the protector of the woods, stood by his side, her presence a beacon of calm in the storm of uncertainty. "They are watching you, Lucas. You must show them your resolve," she whispered, her voice steady. Lucas nodded, determination igniting within him. He understood that this was not just about him, it was about earning the trust of an entire pack. A community that had weathered countless storms together. As the pack circled him, their movements fluid and graceful, Lucas could feel the bond between the mother wolf and her cub strengthen. She nudged the cub closer to him, a sign of acceptance, but the rest of the pack remained wary. They were a family and he needed to prove he was not a threat. "Show them you care," the woman urged, her eyes locked onto the alpha wolf. A powerful figure who led the pack with unwavering strength. Lucas took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage he had. He crouched low, lowering his gaze to the ground, an act of submission and respect. "I'm not here to harm you," he said, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "I want to help. Together we can protect this land." The alpha paused, tilting his head as he assessed Lucas. The other wolves exchanged glances. Their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The tension hung thick in the air, a fragile thread that could snap at any moment. Then, in an unexpected twist, the younger wolf that had approached earlier stepped forward again, its eyes sparkling with mischief. It playfully nudged Lucas's hand, breaking the ice that had settled between them. Lucas couldn't help but smile at the gesture, a glimmer of hope igniting in his heart. But the mother wolf's growl cut through the moment, a sharp reminder that danger still loomed. The pack remained on high alert, their instincts honed to detect any threat. "Stay vigilant, Lucas," the woman warned, her voice low. "This is only the beginning." As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the forest, Lucas felt a sudden chill in the air. The atmosphere shifted once more and the wolves began to look restless. A distant sound echoed through the trees, a rustling that spoke of an approaching threat. Lucas's heart raced. Was it the poachers returning? "Get ready," the woman said, her voice a whisper. "They may come back to reclaim their territory." The pack moved closer together, their bodies forming a protective barrier around the cub and Lucas. The mother wolf positioned herself in front of him, her eyes scanning the treeline with fierce determination. "They won't take what's ours," she seemed to say, a promise etched in her posture. Lucas felt the gravity of the moment, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He had to be ready to stand by this family to fight for their survival. "I won't let you down," he vowed silently, his heart pounding in rhythm with the urgency of the situation. Then, the rustling grew louder, and the first figure emerged from the underbrush, a poacher, sneering and armed. Eyes glinting with greed. "There you are, mutts," he shouted, his voice laced with malice. The pack bristled, a wave of tension rippling through them. "Stay back," Lucas shouted, stepping forward instinctively, standing shoulder to shoulder with the mother wolf. The poacher laughed, a cruel sound that sent chills down Lucas's spine. "You think you can protect them? They're just animals, nothing but a nuisance." But the mother wolf growled low. A warning that sent a ripple of fear through the poacher. Lucas felt the power of her presence, a force of nature ready to defend what was hers. In that moment he realized that he was not just an observer. He was part of this world now, intertwined with the lives of these magnificent creatures. "Leave them alone," Lucas shouted again, his voice firm, though fear clawed at his insides. The poacher's expression shifted, confusion mingling with anger. "You're going to regret this, kid," he spat, raising his weapon. The pack shifted closer, a wall of fur and muscle ready to protect their own. Lucas could sense the unity between them, the strength they drew from one another. The woman stood beside him, her presence a stabilizing force amidst the chaos. "Together," she said softly, her eyes meeting his. "This is your moment. Stand with them." Lucas took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their shared destiny. He stepped forward, placing himself between the poacher and the mother wolf. "You'll have to go through me first," he declared, his voice steady, echoing with conviction. The poacher hesitated, uncertainty flickering in his eyes as he faced the united front of wolves and a determined human. "You're making a mistake," he warned, but Lucas could see the doubt creeping in. The mother wolf's growl deepened, a primal sound that reverberated through the clearing. The other wolves stood poised, ready to spring into action. Lucas felt their strength, their loyalty, and he knew he had made the right choice. This was his family now, and he would protect them at all costs. "Leave this place," Lucas commanded, raising his chin defiantly. "You don't belong here." With a sudden movement, the poacher raised his weapon, but before he could react, the alpha wolf lunged forward, a blur of fur and fury. The pack erupted into action, a coordinated dance of defense. A testament to their bond and the strength they found in one another. Lucas watched in awe as the mother wolf and her allies moved as one, a powerful display of unity and purpose. The poacher stumbled back, fear etched on his face as he realized he was outmatched. "No. Get away," he shouted, panic rising in his voice. The woman beside Lucas raised her hands, a signal of peace, but the moment was lost. The wolves were determined. And Lucas felt a surge of adrenaline as he joined their charge, ready to protect the family he had come to love. Time slowed as the confrontation unfolded, each heartbeat echoing in Lucas's ears. He was no longer an outsider. He was part of this wild world, fighting for survival alongside the creatures he had once studied from afar. The pack surged forward, and the poacher turned to flee, his bravado crumbling in the face of their unwavering resolve. Lucas felt a rush of triumph, knowing they had defended their territory, their home. As the dust settled and the adrenaline faded, the wolves stood victorious, their eyes shining with a fierce pride. The mother wolf approached Lucas, her gaze filled with gratitude and understanding. "You've proven yourself," the woman said, her voice filled with warmth. "You are part of their world now." Lucas knelt, meeting the mother wolf's gaze, feeling the weight of their shared journey. "Thank you for trusting me," he whispered, knowing that this bond would transcend any boundaries. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the forest. In that moment, Lucas knew he had found his place among them, a protector of the wild, united in a struggle that would forever change the course of their lives. The story was far from over, it had only just begun. As the dust settled from the confrontation with the poachers, a strange quiet enveloped the forest. Lucas stood shoulder to shoulder with the mother wolf, their bond solidified through shared courage. But just as relief washed over him, a rustling sound broke the stillness, causing the hairs on the back of his neck to stand on end. Emerging from the shadows of the trees was a younger wolf, its fur a striking blend of silver and black, eyes gleaming with a mix of curiosity and uncertainty. Lucas felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this wolf could bridge the gap between him and the rest of the pack. But as it approached, the air shifted again, heavy with tension. The mother wolf stiffened, her protective instincts flaring as she positioned herself between Lucas and the newcomer. "Easy now," Lucas whispered, sensing the unease. "I'm on your side." But the younger wolf's gaze darted between him and the mother, uncertainty etched across its face. Then, in a surprising turn, the younger wolf let out a low whine, a sound that tugged at Lucas's heart. It approached cautiously, sniffing the air as if trying to decipher the intentions of this human who had dared to help its family. The mother wolf's growl deepened, but Lucas could see the flicker of curiosity in her eyes, a sign that perhaps she was willing to give him a chance. "Trust me," he murmured, kneeling to show he meant no harm. "I saved your cub." But just as he thought he was making progress, the younger wolf suddenly froze, its ears perked up, listening intently. The forest around them was alive with sounds, yet this was different. A distant sound, one that sent a chill down Lucas's spine. "Do you hear that?" he asked, glancing at the protector of the woods, who had remained quietly observant by his side. She nodded slowly, her expression grave. "It's not just the poachers," she whispered. "There's something more." Before Lucas could react, a group of figures emerged from the trees, but these were not the poachers. No, they were dressed in dark clothing, faces obscured by masks, their presence exuding an air of menace. The mother wolf stepped back protectively, her body tense, as the pack instinctively formed a barrier around her cub. "What do they want?" Lucas asked, fear creeping into his voice. "They are hunters." "But not of the ordinary kind," the woman replied, her voice low and urgent. "They believe the wolves are a threat to their livestock and are here to eliminate them." Lucas's heart raced. He had thought the poachers were the only danger. But this was a revelation that shook him to his core. The hunters were not just here for the mother wolf and her cub, they were on a mission to eradicate the entire pack. "No," he exclaimed, the weight of the situation crashing down on him. "We can't let that happen. We have to protect them." The younger wolf, sensing the urgency, turned to the mother, who looked back at it with fierce resolve. In that moment, Lucas realized the bond they shared was deeper than he had imagined. These wolves were not just animals, they were family fighting for survival against a common enemy. As the hunters drew closer, Lucas felt a surge of determination. This was the turning point he had feared. Yet it was also an opportunity to unite. "We have to work together," he urged the woman, his voice steady despite the fear bubbling beneath the surface. "If we can show them that wolves are not the enemy, we can save them." The protector of the woods nodded, her eyes glimmering with understanding. "You're right. But we must act quickly. We need to draw the hunters away from the den." Lucas glanced at the mother wolf, who stood firm, her eyes locked onto the approaching threat. "What do you want me to do?" he asked, ready to take action. "Create a diversion," she said, her voice resolute. "If you can lead them away, we can protect the cub and the others." Without hesitation, Lucas sprang into action. He turned to the hunters, who had begun to circle the area, their eyes scanning for any sign of movement. "Hey, over here," he shouted, his voice echoing through the trees. The hunters turned, surprised by the sudden challenge. "There's a human?" one of them exclaimed, disbelief mingling with anger. Lucas could see their eyes narrow, and he knew he had their attention. "Come and get me," he shouted, bravado masking the fear that coursed through him. He darted away from the wolves, making sure to stay just out of reach, the adrenaline surging through his veins as he led them deeper into the forest. The pack watched, their eyes filled with a mixture of concern and admiration. The mother wolf kept her cub close, a fierce protector even in the face of danger. As Lucas maneuvered through the trees, he could hear the hunters' shouts behind him, their voices growing louder, more frantic. "Get him. Don't let him escape." Lucas's heart raced, but he couldn't look back. He had to trust that the wolves would protect each other while he drew the hunters away. He zigzagged through the underbrush, hoping to confuse them, his mind racing with strategies to keep them occupied. But just as he thought he had gained distance, he heard a familiar voice, the voice of the poacher from earlier, now leading the hunters. "He's trying to save the wolves. We can't let him." The realization hit Lucas like a ton of bricks. The hunters were not just after the wolves, they were after him too. He had become a target, a symbol of defiance against their cruel intentions. With every ounce of strength left in him, he pushed forward, weaving through the trees, adrenaline fueling his determination. He could not fail, the lives of the wolves depended on it. Finally he reached a clearing, breathless and wild-eyed. He could hear the hunters closing in, their footsteps heavy against the forest floor. "I have to buy them time," he thought desperately, scanning the area for anything he could use. Then he spotted a fallen tree, its massive trunk lying across the ground. An idea sparked in his mind. If he could create a barrier, it might slow them down long enough for the wolves to escape. With renewed vigor, Lucas sprinted toward the tree, dragging branches and debris to block the path. He could hear the hunters shouting behind him, their voices filled with rage and frustration. "Get him. Don't let him escape." As he worked, panic clawed at his insides. He could not let them reach the wolves. He pushed himself harder, adrenaline coursing through him like fire. Just as he finished barricading the path, he heard a low growl behind him. Turning, he saw the mother wolf and her cub emerging from the trees, their eyes wide with fear but filled with determination. "Go. Get to safety," Lucas urged, his heart aching at the thought of leaving them behind. "I'll hold them off." But the mother wolf stepped forward, her gaze unwavering. She understood the stakes, she would not abandon her protector. Not now. The younger wolf joined her, their resolve palpable. In that moment, Lucas realized the truth that had been building since the beginning. They were in this together. He understood now that their fates were intertwined, a bond forged in the fires of desperation and hope. With a fierce howl, the mother wolf rallied her pack, the sound echoing through the trees, a call to arms. The other wolves emerged, standing united, a wall of strength ready to defend their territory. "Together," Lucas whispered, feeling the power of their connection surge through him. The hunters broke through the underbrush, their eyes widening as they took in the sight before them. A united front of wolves and a human, standing as one against the threat. "Back off," one of the hunters shouted, fear creeping into his voice. Lucas felt the tide turning. "We are not your enemies," he called out, raising his voice above the chaos. "This land is their home, and you will not take it from them." The hunters hesitated, uncertainty looming in the air. They had come to hunt, but now they faced a force they hadn't anticipated, a bond stronger than their greed. In that moment of hesitation, Lucas seized the opportunity. "Leave now or face the consequences," he shouted, his voice steady with conviction. The mother wolf stood beside him, her presence a powerful symbol of unity. The hunters exchanged glances, fear flickering in their eyes. With a final shout of defiance, Lucas stepped forward, knowing that he was not just fighting for the wolves, but for the very essence of the wild. A reminder that coexistence was possible when compassion prevailed over fear. The hunters, sensing the shift in power, began to retreat, their bravado crumbling in the face of unwavering loyalty. "This isn't over," one of them spat, but as they faded into the shadows, Lucas felt the weight of relief wash over him. Together, they had faced the darkness and emerged stronger. The mother wolf turned to Lucas, her gaze filled with gratitude and respect. In that moment he understood the true meaning of family, of connection beyond words. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the forest, Lucas knew that this was just the beginning. Together they would forge a new path, one where humans and wolves could coexist, united in their fight for survival. The bond they had formed would transcend the barriers of species, creating a legacy of hope and understanding that would echo through the wild for generations to as the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon. The forest transformed, shadows stretching like fingers across the ground. Lucas felt a sense of urgency coursing through him. The battle against the hunters had been won, but the war for survival was far from over. The mother wolf remained close. Her cub nestled against her side, both of them gazing at Lucas with a mixture of gratitude and wariness. "Thank you," Lucas breathed, his voice barely above a whisper. The words felt inadequate for the bond that had formed between them, yet they were all he had. The mother wolf tilted her head slightly as if she understood. The protector of the woods stepped forward, her presence commanding yet gentle. "You've shown great courage today, Lucas. But this is just the beginning. The hunters will not forget what happened here, and they will return with a vengeance." Lucas nodded, his heart heavy with the weight of her words. "What can we do?" he asked, desperation creeping into his voice. "We must prepare," she replied, her eyes scanning the treeline. "We need to gather the pack and find a safe haven. The bond you've formed with the mother wolf and her cub can be the key to their survival." With renewed purpose, Lucas turned to the mother wolf, who seemed to sense his resolve. "We can find them a new home away from the hunters," he said, his voice steady. She let out a soft whine as if considering his words. The pack began to emerge from the shadows, each wolf stepping forward, their eyes reflecting the fading light. Lucas felt a surge of strength in their presence, a reminder that they were not alone in this fight. "Together we are stronger," he declared, raising his voice to rally their spirits. "We can protect each other and find a place where we can all thrive." The wolves responded with low growls and soft howls, a chorus of agreement that sent shivers down Lucas's spine. He could feel the unity of their spirits, a connection forged in the fires of adversity. As they began to move deeper into the forest, Lucas led the way, the mother wolf and her cub at his side. He felt a sense of purpose coursing through him, a determination to shield them from harm. The woods whispered secrets around him, a reminder of the fragile balance that existed between humans and nature. Suddenly, a rustling in the bushes caught their attention. Lucas's heart raced as he turned to face the noise, ready to defend his newfound family. But emerging from the underbrush was a familiar figure, the younger wolf who had first approached him. It looked up at Lucas, its eyes wide and trusting as it joined the pack. "Welcome," Lucas said softly, kneeling to greet the young wolf. "We're all in this together now." The wolf nuzzled against him, a gesture of acceptance that filled his heart with warmth. As night fell, the forest transformed into a world of shadows and sounds. The stars twinkled above, a reminder of the beauty that existed even in darkness. Lucas led the pack through the underbrush, every step bringing them closer to safety. But the danger was far from over. The hunters were relentless, their greed a dark cloud looming over the forest. Lucas knew they would stop at nothing to reclaim what they believed was theirs. "Stay close," he urged the wolves, his voice steady. "We'll find a new home where you can be safe." The mother wolf nodded, her fierce loyalty evident in her posture as she moved protectively beside her cub. As they ventured deeper into the night, Lucas felt the weight of his mission pressing down on him. He had chosen to fight for these wolves, to protect them from the cruelty of humanity. But he also understood the gravity of the task ahead. "Together," he whispered to himself, the words a mantra that fueled his determination. "We can do this." The following days were filled with challenges, but Lucas never wavered. He worked tirelessly alongside the wolves, scouting for food and shelter, learning their ways and understanding their needs. With every passing moment, the bond between them grew stronger, a testament to the power of trust and compassion. One evening, as they settled in a secluded glade, Lucas gathered the wolves around him. "I want to share something with you," he began, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "I've spent my life studying wolves, but you've shown me something far more profound, what it means to truly connect, to stand united against the odds." The mother wolf watched him intently, her dark eyes reflecting the flickering light of the campfire. Lucas continued, "I promise to protect you and your cub, to ensure you're safe from those who would do you harm. We will create a sanctuary, a place where you can thrive." Just then, the distant sound of footsteps echoed through the trees, a reminder of the lurking threat. Lucas's heart raced as he turned to the pack, urgency flooding his veins. "They've found us," he shouted, adrenaline coursing through him. "We need to move." The wolves sprang into action, their instincts kicking in as they prepared to defend their home. Lucas felt a rush of adrenaline as he positioned himself beside the mother wolf, ready to face the hunters once more. As the figures emerged from the trees, Lucas felt a surge of defiance. "No more," he shouted, his voice echoing through the glade. "You will not harm them." The hunters paused, taken aback by the united front of wolves and a human standing against them. Lucas stood tall, heart racing, knowing that this was a pivotal moment in their fight for survival. "Leave now and we can coexist," he urged, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at his insides. "But if you choose to threaten them, you will face the consequences." The hunters exchanged glances, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. They had come to hunt, but now they faced a force they hadn't anticipated, a bond stronger than their greed. With a final shout of defiance, Lucas stepped forward, ready to protect the pack at all costs. The mother wolf stood beside him, a fierce guardian ready to defend her young. Together, they faced the hunters, a testament to the power of unity in the face of adversity. As the tension hung heavy in the air, the hunters hesitated, their bravado crumbling before the unwavering resolve of the pack. Lucas felt a rush of hope as he realized they were winning the battle, not just for survival but for understanding. "Leave this place," he shouted again, his voice ringing with authority. "These wolves are part of this land and so am I. You cannot take them from us." The hunters, sensing the shift in power, began to retreat, their expressions filled with disbelief. They hadn't expected to face a united front, a bond forged in the fires of compassion and courage. As they faded into the shadows, Lucas felt a wave of relief wash over him. They had defended their territory, their home. The mother wolf turned to him, her gaze filled with gratitude and respect. "You've proven yourself," the woman said, her voice filled with warmth. "You are part of their world now." Lucas knelt, meeting the mother wolf's gaze, feeling the weight of their shared journey. "Thank you for trusting me," he whispered, knowing that this bond would transcend any barriers. As dawn broke, casting a golden hue over the forest, Lucas knew they had forged a new path, a path where humans and wolves could coexist, united in their fight for survival. The story was far from over, it had only just begun, and together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. If this story is touching your heart, make sure to subscribe for more incredible stories like this one. The journey of Lucas and the wolves would inspire others, a testament that compassion can prevail against the odds, and that when we stand together, we can create a legacy of hope that echoes through the wild for generations to come.